All right, guys, I'm excited today because I have a special friend, Jerry Green from Dayton, Ohio, is with me. And today we're just going to talk about scaling and building a team. That's the strong suit of Jerry. And Jerry, what's going on, man? Good to have you.
How's San Francisco today?
Everything is good. It's sunny in San Francisco, which is always nice.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's actually nice here in Ohio too today. I think we're running about 72 today. So,
nice.
which which is unusual for this time of year to be this warm. So,
Yeah. So Jerry, why don't you just introduce yourself briefly, kind of who you are, what you do, how long you've been in the business, and your main business model today.
yep, absolutely. So, hi, Mike. This is actually my 25th year in the business.
Wow.
I started in the business in 1994 over in actually Springfield, Ohio. That's where I started at. And I started basically back then, I was just really working out of my house at that time. My wife and I started, Jaime, I was just prior to that, I was actually in electrical contracting business with my father.
Okay.
And I was working that business there. This was about rolling into, I don't know, this was probably year about 92 or so. And in 93, I was working that business with him. We'd done a lot of work for a lot of general contractors as the electrical contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a very large general contractor that we'd done a lot of work for actually contact me at home one night. I'll never forget this. It was a Sunday night. He called, and remember back then it was all landlines.
Right.
Okay. So he called me up. I got the phone, and I still remember there was a gentleman named Jim Koffenberger, and he called me up and he said, "Hey Jerry, just want to let you know that we're closing our doors to our business, and I wanted to give you advance notice, and we're closing our doors tomorrow morning." So he was giving me a one night notice.
Okay.
But the thing is, at that time, our little electrical contracting business, he owed us a little over $60,000. Well, you take that back in the 90s, I mean, that's what, probably several hundred thousand in today's money, you know? So, and, but just, you know, kind of make a long story very short on that, we end up taking a big hit on that. With small business, father and I were not able to recover from that. And we ended up going bankrupt because of that. And so I filed bankruptcy. And at that time, I was trying to figure out what to do. Well, I actually saw an advertisement at a local, for a local seminar coming up, actually on TV in Cincinnati, Ohio. And it was a real estate seminar.
Yeah.
And what happened? And then I realized that, you know, I could, you know, try to make something happen with this. Well, I went back and started talking to my family, and my family, of course, they told me I was nuts and I should go get a job. And so what did I do? I went out and do some job interviews instead of just doing what I really wanted.
Yeah.
So I went out to some job interviews. I remember going in on a Friday afternoon. This was in Springfield, Ohio, back in the 90s there. Like I said, right at about 94 there. I went to this job interview, and they said, basically it was in a university, and they offered me the position in their engineering department on a Friday.
Okay.
I said, "Can I think about it?" And they said, "Well, you have till Monday because we have other candidates." And so I went home, done a lot of soul searching over that weekend, buddy, trying to figure out what I wanted to do and everything else. Talked to my wife, and we you know, we made a decision. I called him up on that Monday morning and turned him down on that job. But, you know, at the same time, I remember I was in a position where I had zero income at that time. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had to focus on what I could do to generate quick cash. So I jumped right into and this is back in the 90s there. And I literally went just from one neighborhood to another. I crawled in windows, took boards off windows and everything to get in some of these properties I would meet people on, and just that's how I started building my wholesale business. I'd pick up $1,500 here, 1,000 here. Then I realized I could do 2,500 or five, maybe 5,000, and I continued to grow that. Then I got to the point where model, okay, and within a few years I was growing that side of the business. Well, this was I actually had scaled it up quite a bit there, and actually got written up in the local paper. So I thought everything was going good, man. And then 1999 comes about. We're just rolling into the year 2000, and my wife and I at that time were excited about everything that we had going on, and we were in a position where we actually made a decision to build a new home. It was going to be your said, hey, we want to have a baby, and so we just we made that commitment, and so in that year, later that year in 2000, my wife, we had a little boy who was supposed to be born in October of that year, and in the summer she started having some complications, and we were worried about. We spent several trips to the hospital, and they said it's all right, she'll be fine. It's just a matter of maybe some premature labor, symptoms and stuff like that. So, and then probably the third trip to the hospital, I think it was, and we ended up in the hospital, and this was in August of that year, 2000, and we ended up in the hospital for like 4 days, and they just said for some reason her blood counts are off. They're not real sure what's going on because they couldn't do any scans or anything like that with the baby. So, so they decided they induced, and little boy was born, and they said, he's a little premature, but we think he'll be all right. We got to make sure that he gets some extra treatment here. But I remember the doctor saying to me, I'm more concerned about your wife. And and they said the first thing we want to do is take her down for a scan, a CT scan. So they took her down for a CT scan, and then probably about 2 hours later, I still remember this. One doctor walking down the hallway, and I was outside of her room talking to some other family, and I remember the doctor walking down with two nurses, one on both sides of the doctor, and he said, I need to talk to you guys. And wife and I with him, and he says, I want to let you know we've done the scan, and we believe that we see a massive tumor on your wife's kidneys. And it felt like he felt at that time that it was the size of almost a football. And so we left the hospital. We had to leave the hospital where our little boy was at, that was just born that day, and be transferred to Ohio State University Cancer Institute the same day he was born. And we had to leave him there at the hospital. And within several days, we found out that she did have cancer, and something a very rare cancer for an adult to have. It's called Wilms tumor. It's mainly a childhood type cancer. And then we found that out. They started chemotherapy, and just, it was kind of one thing after another, my friend. And then she ended up in the hospital for a major surgery 5 days before Christmas of that year 2000. And they thought they would be able to get things cleaned up, and remove the tumor and everything. But what ended up happening was about a 14-hour surgery. And she ended up in the hospital because of complications and constant problems that we had for 4 months straight. So I went from, being in a brand new home we just built to having a brand new baby, to the point of actually, I ended up, and this was in Columbus, Ohio, I actually ended up moving and living in the Ronald McDonald House for 4 months straight. And that was my new home, while the family moved in our house and took care of our newborn baby. And we finally got my wife home in March of the following year, after 4 months in the hospital. And when we got her home, she was in a position where she was pretty well bedridden, and she had to go to dialysis 3 times a week because they had to completely remove all kidneys. She had no kidneys whatsoever at that time.
Wow.
And she had to be on dialysis 3 times a week and radiation twice a week. So because they were worried the cancer would come back. And then, so a very short period of time, and it was in May of 2001, we went in for additional CT scan to see how things were going. And the doctors came to me directly and just let me know that the cancer had already returned and it was everywhere. And they suggested we call in hospice at that time. And so my wife at 34 years old and being there with a newborn baby passed away in June of 2001.
Wow.
And so I was in a, and here I, and I share this a lot behind with people because I think a lot of times people think, like they put us sometimes on pedestals, and say, oh, everything worked out. But, here I went through this situation, through this business, going through bankruptcy, rebuilding up here to the point. And, my wife at that time, she worked in the business with me. She was my business partner, everything. And then my whole life come collapsing down. And it took me about 2 years before I really got functioning again. Okay.
Wow.
And then I met my wife, Joyce, which now, and really started rebuilding on that. But one other thing that I share with you too is if you think about this, any other job or anything else anybody would have been into, just think about if you were not working for 2 years straight, what that would do to somebody financially. And I was very, very fortunate that I was already in this business, had built up some rentals and things like that was able to keep me afloat on things and build up some cash. But I had to restart all over again.
Wow.
And so my wife now, Joyce, she told me if I wanted to marry, I had to move over to Germantown, Ohio, which is in the Dayton area. And that's what I did. And then I started rebuilding my business, my life all over again. Business side, I got involved in a lot of different areas. I was doing a lot of renovation deals. I think I had like 4 project managers working for me at one time, doing multiple rehabs. I got into apartment buildings, which I still have some today on things. Mm-hmm. And I even got into this commercial side where I got into like Dollar General stores and things like that.
Okay.
But what happened though was I kept working that, but the problem that I was doing was I was constantly just consumed by the business all the time. And it was night and day from morning to night. And then I come to a period of time where years ago I said, I just got to make a big transformation. And so one of the things that I did was out of this business. And ultimately, and I started realizing too that, a lot of people, when they get into this, they get into it. And I always kind of draw a line like down a piece of paper. And I say, one side's real estate, the other side's business. Mm-hmm. And most people get stuck in the real estate side their entire career or to a true business. And that's the hard part because it's so easy for us to become the technician and get stuck in the real estate side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was doing.
So yeah, let me again. First of all, thank you for sharing your story. Again, I remember you talked about it a few years ago, but again, I forgot all the details. So thanks for sharing.
Yes,
and I guess the message that you want to deliver to the listeners here, that challenges is the way, right? Again, you're gonna be knocked around. Life is gonna kick you in the butt, in the face, and financially and personally, and what you see today, it's kind of the result of everything that you had to face with, and who you are today is a result of all the challenges that you had to face and overcome. So don't 100%. Think that like Jerry is now he's very successful investor. He has rentals, he has a team. So it's not an overnight success. He had to go through a lot of stuff. Absolutely. in order to be of where he is today. So I think that's the message that you're trying to send. So thanks for sharing that. Let me ask you a question, because you mentioned about the real estate and the business side of the business. Because a lot of people starting, again, I remember when I was starting out, I was doing everything, right? You're generating the leads, you driving for dollars, you taking the calls, you meeting the sellers, you meeting the investors, you meeting the contractors, you doing everything. And it can be overwhelming, and it's not a scalable model. When you get to maybe 3 deals at the same time, you're going to burn yourself and you're going to hit the ceiling. There is no way you can do more than 5 without killing yourself. So I think this is when the shift need to change to the business.
Absolutely.
And you need to start to say, okay, I need help. So what's in your experience, or what do you recommend now when you coach new investors in this position? What's the first hire that they need to make in order to buy some time so they can focus on the most important high revenue activities?
Well, I think one of the big things that people have to realize is that, number one, they do reach a ceiling. You can't continue to do it like you've always done and expect different results.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
Sanity. Yeah.
Yeah. And, so I think one of the things you have to look at is start looking at it where understand what is all going on in your business as a function. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm just kind of answer your question here. Just so people understand, the best way to get to this, I always recommend is laying out like an accountability chart. Okay. Of your different functions of your business, because it creates clarity of what is truly going on within that operation. And what you're going to find by doing that, you're going to find the things that, one, you're not good at, and number 2, that you don't like.
Yes.
Okay.
Man, yeah.
And so typically what I find probably 90% of the time, the first hire is some type of assistant. A lot of this load from you of data entry type things and, just generalized tasks that you don't need to be doing. And even another thing I recommend.
Admin, like an admin assistant. Again, you're caught up for a second, so I just want to make sure the listeners got it. Admin assistants. Okay.
Yep. An admin type assistant type person is a huge component, but it's not even just on the business things. It's taking away some of the personal things too that make a huge dent in your calendar on things, and your time is just can take off so you can focus on the higher quality things in your life.
Yeah, so like something like paying bills, checking emails, responding to, again, like a calendar, maybe errands, opening accounts, closing accounts, and things like that. There are something
mail,
the mail. There's something that you have to do, but it's very low value task in the bigger scheme of things. And you should negotiate. Again, you should negotiate on deals. That's the high value task. So, all right. So I think by doing that, you pretty much can maybe go from like 3 deals to maybe 5 deals, because you're gonna buy a lot of times for you to maybe meet with more individuals, maybe do more connecting with more investors, potential buyers, maybe private money lenders and things like that. So what do you think the last role that you should outsource or hire? And especially, again, what's your thought about virtual assistants as doing these admin tasks if you are limited on funds?
Well, I think, first of all, one of the last positions you should really look at outsourcing, to me, I feel is more the disposition side.
Disposition.
Okay. I feel on the disposition side, because acquisitions is a more, to me, acquisitions is definitely something that's a more trainable skill on things.
Okay.
And it can be multiplied at an easier process on things. Dispositions is, is so much about relationship side of things, and they have to be really, really good at that. And typically, you're one of the best ones in that box until the very end, when you can then push that and I don't want you to say push it off, but hand it off properly to someone else. Okay.
Yeah. And I found it that usually when
And
you deal with this position, you're dealing with the investors, the more educated people.
Absolutely.
Usually the high level individual that you don't want to have, again, like an assistant or entry level person handle that.
And I think your question with the VA too, I think a virtual assistant, especially for budget wise, can be a huge help for a lot of investors starting up. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing I think, and as you know too, I mean, that's a big area for you. I know you've worked with a lot of virtual assistants, and I think the biggest thing is just getting real good clarity for them. Okay. Mm-hmm. And what exactly they have to do. Yeah. And creating that.
Yeah, expectation is huge with virtual assistants for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think it's allowed me this, with my team currently now, it's allowed me to build it to the point where, I was sharing with you is that a lot of my team is virtual right now. Okay. And so that's been a big component for us.
And they are virtual in significant roles. You mentioned to me that your COO is virtual, and she's basically managing and running all your operation, which is, again, a big operation. And she's doing it from a virtual office in like a different state, right?
Yes. It's interesting. She actually worked with me here in Dayton for quite a few years. And her husband's in the military and got transferred. Mm-hmm. On what we looked at, it was how much more could we tighten up the business? How could we create more constraints on the business and to make it better? So by doing that, we actually became even better in regards to an overall company and regarding our operations because she wasn't going to be here. Okay. So now she runs my business, which is located in Ohio. She runs that from New Mexico.
Wow.
Okay. And she does it by, and my acquisitions members are in different states, and local transaction coordinator, local assistant, and a local dispositions person. But a lot of my team is virtual, and I even have a lady who does marketing for us too that's based out of Atlanta.
Wow.
So we've got a team in different places, but the key is what I've been able to do is I really been able to realize and let someone else step into those shoes. And Ashley, my COO, does an amazing job with that. And like I say, she's able to run it, and she meets with the team every morning. And it's morning huddle, and it's done via Zoom. And everybody reports on their numbers every single day. We actually do a daily Kpi tracking.
Okay.
And all team members report on that. And the cool thing about that, we can adjust that on a daily basis.
Got it. So let's talk about acquisition and hiring acquisition. So first of all your acquisition close over the phone, or there is a belly-to-belly, face-to-face negotiation?
So I used to do everything face-to-face for years. In fact, I had done it for many years.
Right, I remember that. Yeah, that was the model.
And so what I learned was, just like too, that you can do it over the phone too, and most of it's just mindset because of the way we've been programmed on things. So now probably 90% of our deals are done over the phone.
Wow. And your acquisition guys don't even live in Dayton?
No, not at all.
Wow. So they close everything over the phone?
Just about everything over the phone. And then we have what we call boots on the ground that go out to appointments that are needed. And then our acquisition person then steps in and will talk to the client why the boots on the ground is right there.
Got it. That's an interesting model. So let's talk about that, because that's fascinating to me. A lot of people that follow me, again, they follow me because, again, I'm the virtual wholesaler guy. That's kind of my brand name. And they want to do it virtually, even though I tell people you can do virtual deals in your local market, right? You don't need to drive.
100%.
Yeah. You can close everything over the phone. So how do you find these people that can close over the phone, or kind of acquisition guys or girls, how do you find them? What's your hiring process to first? How do you find them, and B, your hiring process?
Well, I think first of all, finding them, what we've learned is I try not to. One, I don't focus on people that have a ton of real estate experience.
Okay.
Okay.
Important.
I really focus on people that are really good people.
Okay.
People
skills.
I guess people skills.
Okay.
And have the ability to just have, really comes down. Here's why two things I look at is, one, just having a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. And number two is that they follow a sales process, and the sales process is trainable.
Right.
Okay.
And social skills, again, you can't teach somebody to be good with people.
Absolutely. So if I know those things are in place, and they have high, their skills they're typical, a little higher on the quick starter level of things, and they're very aggressive on, follow up on those type of things there, then that I can bring somebody in and train them on that side of things.
Got it. So you do the Kpi test, you do the Kpi and the DISC test, or do you?
Yes. Yep. Both of them.
Both. Okay.
Yep. So
what are you looking for? Yeah. What are you looking for in the Kpi test? You mentioned quick start, and I think that's a Kpi test. One of the features.
We look at typically, we look at the quick start as a big indicator on things. Okay. Because we look at, a lot of times we find people that, and we've done this before, where we put them in the wrong seat.
Yeah.
And then we find somebody that is over analytical. It's just going to keep analyzing. And they're not going to want to pull the trigger, and they'll just keep doing that over and over again. And we're looking at in a position where it's like, let's get it to the point where we're comfortable, and then bam,
boom, okay? Make decision quick.
Yes.
Okay. So that is like the fact finder should be very low on the Kpi. Again, just to give in perspective, the Kpi and the DISC test is personality test. Every person is wired differently. Everybody has a strong suit and things that they are not so great in. And there's no right or wrong. Again, there's people who are phenomenal that are analytical, and there's people who are phenomenal that they are just quick started, dominant personality. So the Kpi test and the DISC test is basically a short test that you can give prospect to work for you, to kind of see that kind of what's the personality type, so you can put them in the right seat. Because you can have great people in the wrong seat, and it's going to affect your business. They will never be great because they just wired differently for a specific position that requires specific skill set.
And I've done that many times, and it's no fun.
Yeah. So you want, for an acquisition guys, you want them to be quick to make a decision. Fact finder should be low, because you don't want them to overanalyze. You want them to have just enough information, but quick start, to move forward quickly. What's on the DISC test you look for in this acquisition role?
Well, I like somebody that, overall, we're looking for somebody that has the outgoing personality, that's not so much, there's some introvert skills that are good, but typically on sales side of things, I want that little bit more of that expressive type person, and
social skills high.
Yep, social skills, but also a very good listener on things.
Okay. So how do you find them? So I guess this is obviously you need to generate traffic for candidates, and then you basically take them through a hiring funnel. And so the top of the funnel, you have them take the test, so this is down the road?
Well, Chaim, so what we typically do is, what we're marketing for people, obviously we'll market on several different, social media channels. We might use Indeed, Wise Hire, and a lot of times it's just pushing it out there too, to try to get some referral base too. Okay.
The network.
Yep. And then what happens is we believe everything is a 3-step process when it comes to hiring. Okay. The first process we look at, and this is for a salesperson. Okay.
Yeah.
So a salesperson, first thing they do is, if they contact us, the first thing we require is a video.
Got it.
Okay. And typically anywhere from a minute to 2-minute video a little bit about themselves, and what would make them a strong salesperson.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think you know as well as I do that we can get a lot from that video.
Yes, for sure. 100%.
Okay.
First of all, 90% will not do that. So that will help you filter the
100% on that. Yes. 100% that 90% won't do it.
Exactly. So if you have like 100 candidates and you think, oh my God, I need to hire, to interview 100 people, just have them do one task. And again, they will filter themselves out to only 10. And video is a great way to do it, especially for salespeople that need to sell themselves, right?
Yeah. And we look at this. If they're afraid to do a video, what happens if they gets a little hostile?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not going to work. Okay. So that's the original filter on things that helps tremendously.
Okay.
Okay.
So
that's kind of our original filter there for salespeople. Then really our first process of this whole sales funnel is going to, we do a Zoom call with them.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm not involved in that first one.
Okay.
Okay. My COO does that. And then she does that, and then she feels it out and sees, really how they are at that time.
Okay.
And if she feels that they are a candidate to take to the next level, then what happens is she'll then go ahead and set up a Zoom conference where I get involved.
Got it.
Okay. So it's kind of the rule of three here. Okay.
Got it.
She does her first interview. I come in on the second interview. And then at that time, if I feel really connected and we go through some different questions and just really have a conversation with them, then what happens, Ashley will then go ahead and initiate like the Kpi index.
Okay.
And the next level of things. Okay.
Got it.
Okay. And then once the Kpi comes back, we feel good. The final step is to get them into an in-person interview. Okay.
Even if they live outside of the area, if they just.
Yeah. So we typically what we'll do is we'll set it up where, if we're going to get to that point, we're going to even bring them in if we need to. Okay.
You're going to fly them in?
Yes, absolutely. Because we've stepped through those other components. We've done the Kpi. Okay. We've invested enough that we feel comfortable to make that additional investment. Okay.
Got it.
And then what we do is we put them in a little bit of a test where the third interview is not an interview where we're doing just in an office. We typically go out like for lunch or something like that, because we want to do is see how they interact in that type of atmosphere.
Got it.
Okay. And if they can't, because see, here's a big mistake that I made for years. I hired people not based upon my core values and my culture of my business. I hired based upon theirs.
Wow.
Okay. But now I base it upon my core values, my culture. In our culture, we get a little crazy within the business and we have a lot of fun. Okay. And if they can't fit into that goofy atmosphere a little bit there, okay, it's never going to work. Yeah.
So that's key. So I think a lot of people looking for the guy or the girl with the best experience, the best, again, on paper, the resume looks amazing, but their core values is completely different than yours. So even if you may have a great person, but they're just not a good fit for your company.
100%.
Yeah.
And I made that mistake. Look, I had one gentleman that had been working for me for 15 years. And it took me that long to realize that. And he was the best man in my wedding, and I had to fire him.
Wow.
And that was not fun.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, so this is the very detailed hiring process. And remember, you need to spend a lot of time to pick the right person, because this is probably the most important role, because that's the money-making roles. When you're negotiating and getting contract, you better put a rock star in this seat, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And you got to make them accountable right from the beginning.
So let's talk about accountability, because I think, again, just by listening to you, you mentioned KPI and core values. So I'm sure again you implement the traction model. I assume. So you know, before we go to that, how do you structure the pay for your acquisition guys? Because a lot of people sometimes they have the right person, but when it comes to business decision, they put the wrong pay structure for the wrong position, for the right position. So they can have a rock star, but if they pay them not right, or they don't managing this role the right way, it's not going to be profitable for them.
Well, I look at it is, and I've done it wrong many times, okay? And I'm not saying my way is perfect by far,
right.
Okay? But what I've looked at is I do work off a small base, okay? And the reason I do that, Chaim, is I'm a big believer that, one, we have meetings regularly where they have to participate, and I think that's fair to take care of them on that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, based on that. The other side is very much based upon results, production.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's on a per deal basis. Okay.
Okay.
And then on top of that, what we do is we do a third level too. And the third level is based upon revenue on a monthly basis. Exceeding that takes into a bonus level.
Got it.
So there's three tiers to that. There's a base, revenue per basically a per deal, and then third is the overall revenue for the business on a monthly basis. What that does is that creates the focus on not only do I look at increasing my overall production, but creating bigger spreads on the deals too.
Got it. So again, if you don't mind, if you can dig deep a little bit about that, because that's a lot of people, that's the first hire or the second hire. So are the acquisition guys are 1099 or they are W-2? They are official employees or they are independent contractors, in other words?
I've done it both ways. And I find that a lot of them are kind of used to that structure, are used to more of the 1099. Okay.
So that's what you do, 1099?
Yes, I do 1099 right now.
Got it. So they are independent contractor. So what is the base for them that you pay? That's close to what, like minimum wage, just to keep them afloat in case they have a slow month?
Well, I guess let me look at this too. What we do is, so we do a draw. Part of that base is we also include in a little more than that because we do a draw against commissions.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
So and that is to help them out for, let's say, first half of the month is kind of slow.
Yeah.
What allows them to still draw on things. Okay. And typically you're going to see anywhere from about 3,000 to 4,000 a month is a pretty common number. Okay.
For a draw.
For a draw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then they draw against that, and then commissions. The goal is the commissions obviously to way exceed that each month. Okay.
Got it.
And then over basically to exceed the draw amount on a monthly basis.
Got it. So what is, again, and you mentioned it's based on performance too, individually per deal. So what do you pay them as far as percentage of the deal? Is that a percentage of the growth, percentage of the net?
Well, I used to do it more on the gross, but I realized that, that's not really our true revenue number.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So what we look at is a real revenue number, and typically we run somewhere around 8 or 10%, and then we have some bonus levels on top of that. Okay?
Got it. So you take off the overhead, the marketing fees, and then from the net you take like 8 to 10%.
Yes.
Got it. All right, that makes sense. Let's talk about, I think I want to transition to KPI. You manage a lot of team members. You have COO that I'm sure she has KPI. I'm sure you have acquisition guys that have KPI. I'm sure you have office people, like construction managers and disposition. So maybe can you talk about how you manage individuals based on KPI and not based on how nice they are?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do, we do two different things. One, on what we call a daily huddle. Okay. And that daily Huddle, a daily KPI tracker. Okay.
Every day, every day.
You there, hon?
Yeah, I lost you for a second. So you do the KPI huddle accountability call every day?
Yep. They're doing it every day. Now I'm not on them anymore because Ashley runs that side.
Okay. And all the team are on this call, or only salespeople, or all?
No, all the whole team.
Okay.
Okay. And it's usually about 30 minutes in length.
Okay.
Okay. Same time every morning. They're required to be on. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's no exceptions to that. Everybody gets on via Zoom. Mm-hmm. The reason we do it Zoom is because, remember, there's a lot of people that are remote. So mm-hmm. It's important to have that interaction daily.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
And I think it's very important, even above just a phone call. So they get on there, and then what happens is they go through their numbers, and it goes down. It goes acquisitions number 1. They report on their numbers, and it's like their leads week to date, and they look at the calls made that and it's all on the prior day.
Got it. Okay. Got it.
So connect rate too we look at. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're connecting with a lot of those calls and not just getting a bunch of voicemails.
Got it.
Okay. So we want to make sure that connect rates very high on things, and we're looking at that. We're looking at then then one of the big numbers we look at is contracts out and contracts in. Mm-hmm. Okay. And those are big numbers for acquisitions. And then we go down, like we look at transaction coordinator. Everybody says, well, how do you measure somebody on transaction coordinating or assistant type of things? Well, transaction coordinating, the big thing we look at on that is title work ordered, title work cleared to close. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Got it.
So it's we think about it. It's like a production process.
Yeah, for sure.
And we look at like assistant type items, tasks that are open, tasks completed. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we look like on dispositions. Dispositions would be properties available for sale, properties under contract, ones in negotiation, and we want to see those changing every few days. That those numbers changing on things.
Got it.
And then, Chaim, what we do also is we have each salesperson has a goal for the month. Mm-hmm. And every day it tracks their percentage, and everybody can see exactly where they're at, can see the other team members' percentage. So it's a real accountability piece when you're sharing that with everybody.
Yeah, that's the scorecard, right? So that's what they talk about in introduction. So listen, this is all fascinating stuff, and you obviously know how to run a big team. And I know that again, you're gonna have an event in May.
Yes.
Specifically about how to scale and grow your business. So in the last 5 minutes that we have, do you want to talk a little bit about the event and what's, again, if people want to find out more information about that?
Yeah, absolutely, hon. So we got an event in 8th in Dayton, Ohio here. Okay.
May 8th?
May 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay. 3 days.
It's a 3-day event. The first 2 days it's really think and grow your business is the theme of it. Okay. The first 2 days are really about taking my model that I've been doing for 25 years. Mm-hmm. I open up the curtain completely on that, and I basically lay all that out in front of you, how you can take my systems. And the cool thing about it, Chaim, is I also bring my people in too. So mm-hmm. you actually get to meet my people.
Got it.
That are doing it. And then then people can take that and reproduce that. Then the third day is all about sales, and that is on the acquisition side. So I've become very good at that. So I show people how to do that in person as well as virtually, and how to put those systems in place. And that's coming up May 6th, 7th, and 8th in Dayton. If anybody's interested in it, all they got to do, the best way to connect with me on this is just reach out to me on Facebook here, Jerry Green in Germantown, Ohio, or my Facebook page, which is just Jerry Green. They can reach out to me on that. And Chaim, it's a $2,500 investment, and tremendous value for that. So, and right now I'm doing it where we got a little more availability on things. So anybody that comes in, they can bring a guest for free on that too, if they have a business partner or something.
That's amazing. Listen, guys, I think, again, if you want and you're looking to scale your business, it's definitely worth your time. I'm not getting anything out of it. There's no affiliate links. There's no nothing. Jerry and I have been in the same mastermind for a while, so I've seen him grow. I've seen basically tearing down his team and rebuilding it with new concept the right way. So I was in this room and I saw how, again, the process, how it was done, and over a year, how he was letting key members of his team go and rebuilding a completely brand new building. And I know that, again, I follow him. I see that he's meeting with top-notch individuals. We have mutual friends that, again, maybe will be there, I'm not sure, but he is connecting with the right people, and this is a tremendous value if you can make it to his event in Dayton. So, Jerry, thank you, buddy. I really appreciate your time and sharing your wisdom and expertise. And I'm sure we're going to stay in touch.
Yes, absolutely, buddy. All right. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, buddy. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.